Good evening. It's been a very long day here in Brussels, and the take-home has to be that the talks continue and that there has been progress, even if not enough to be able to announce that concrete political consensus. This progress has been on what's been described, as you said, on the fundamental and complex issues of freedom of movement of people and goods. And what else do meetings such as today do? Well, they help focus the efforts. We've heard of yet another push, the intensification of negotiations. So although we're not privy to details, political advancement would open doors to negotiators. So we can expect perhaps more progress at technical level to happen behind the scenes just because of today's meetings with the top guns. Let's take a look at some of today's images in this report, which I filed earlier. How you'll be feeling after reading the joint statement will depend on whether you're a glass half full or half empty sort of person, because although expectations were low, hopes were high. The joint statement issued after today's meeting, the third meeting in this format, says it's built on significant progress of the 12th of April and the 16th of May. Today's discussions, it states, were constructive and productive, resulting in further progress on the complex issues of negotiations, namely in the area of people and goods. It adds the meeting reaffirmed the negotiators' shared commitment to concluding an EU-UK agreement to bring confidence and stability to the people of the whole region, while safeguarding all parties' legal position. The importance of today's meeting and what could have come out of it is not lost on anyone. We're talking real game changer here. It's true the negotiations have dragged on, but just as the new Labour government wants to reset its relationship with the EU, every meeting here is a reset, seen as a new opportunity for progress. Today's was scheduled for 10:30, but the respective two sides were getting their pre-meeting meetings in early. The Gibraltar delegation met the UK contingent at the British ambassador's home in Brussels for a briefing, while the Spanish foreign minister had his early café au lait and pain chocolat with the European Commissioner. Speaking to journalists later on, José Manuel Alvarez would be keen to give the UK some tit for its tat and borrow its phrase that both negotiators speak with a single voice. Each, however, took to X to have their say on social media. The Chief Minister described the meeting as constructive, saying, "Lots done, lots still to do." The description would be echoed by the Foreign Secretary, who would add the talks would move us closer to an agreement. The Spanish Foreign Minister says they will continue working intensely to solve pending issues, with Commissioner Šefčovič adding they remain in constant contact with teams to work closely and intensively on outstanding issues. It was an impressive escorted arrival and departure for Team GB, with a fleet of vehicles sending a message that although we may be out of Europe, the UK continues to play an important role. Around these talks, it's also wanted to make clear it wants to continue having a future with the EU, and a treaty with it would draw a line under the inherited Brexit issue so that all sides can move forward. Well, with the Chief Minister rushing off to catch a flight back home, the only negotiator we've heard from so far has been the Spanish Foreign Minister. And this was against a backdrop of calls for his resignation and accusations that his government has been involved in a coup in Venezuela. So after a very brief statement on the actual meeting and the talks, he took no questions on the subject. All the questions that Senor Alvarez took this afternoon were on Venezuela. The Foreign Secretary, too, had to rush off to Paris, where the Middle East crisis demanded his attention. So A stark reminder perhaps here in Brussels that although this meeting is so important to us, we are sandwiched among so many major international issues. And also perhaps the other side of the coin, that this is why these encounters are so important. So let's just have a listen to what Señor Álvarez told journalists after that meeting today.
Hemos tenido avances en aspectos que son en estos momentos ya los aspectos fundamentales. La libertad de movimiento de personas y la libertad también de movimiento de bienes. Queda todavía trabajo técnico sobre aspectos muy prácticos para hacer. Hemos quedado en seguir trabajando y redoblar la intensidad en las próximas semanas para poder ya de una vez por todas concluir lo antes posible este acuerdo. Y por parte de España ha quedado claro nuestra posición totalmente constructiva, totalmente a favor de conseguir ese acuerdo, y dejando claro que nosotros queremos y consideramos que es bueno para Gibraltar y para los 300.000 andaluces del campo de Gibraltar que haya libertad de movimientos de personas y de bienes, pero que al mismo tiempo, por supuesto, tenemos que garantizar que los controles dentro del espacio Schengen y de la libertad de movimientos y dentro de la unión aduanera y por lo tanto de la libertad de movimiento de bienes son respetados y son aplicados exactamente igual que en el resto del espacio Schengen o de la unión aduanera. También hemos estado de acuerdo en no extendernos en demasiados detalles públicamente, porque nada está acordado hasta que todo está acordado, y también, permítanme, voy a convocar, como he hecho ya en otras ocasiones, tanto a los alcaldes del campo de Gibraltar como a la Junta de Andalucía para poderles explicar, y lo entenderán a ellos de primera mano, un poco la situación después de esta reunión, que ha sido la primera en la que ha acudido David Lammy como ministro de Asuntos Exteriores del nuevo gobierno laborista, y los avances que se han dado en ella. Ministro, el gobierno de España era...
So we've heard the words positive and constructive throughout the negotiations, progressing matters in a forward-looking way. And yet today we've seen that some old habits die very, very hard. In no communique today has the Spanish Foreign Minister acknowledged Gibraltar's chief minister's presence in any of the meetings or the talks. And the photo that Ms. Álvarez actually chose to use on X has Fabian Picardo's face obscured by the Foreign Secretary David Lammy. This, of course, doesn't bode well with that message of goodwill. But if they want a picture to paint 1,000 words, well, it's sharply contrasted by the Foreign Secretary's use of picture on X, where he has his arm over the Chief Minister's shoulders. So this image highlighting recent statements of unity. It's one team, and even though some may pretend or may want to pretend otherwise, there will be no negotiations without Gibraltar being present. We will hear from the Chief Minister a bit later on Viewpoint if he manages to land on time. We are keeping our fingers crossed that he will. For now, it's Vasquez reporting for GBC from Brussels.